Hillary Clinton makes history as she becomes the first woman to be nominated to run for president by a major American political party. A Senegalese entrepreneur aims to unlock access to energy on the continent. And Queen Bey reigns supreme with 11 Video Music Award nominations. Africa 54 starts right now.
Good evening, I'm Esther Githuiyuat. This is Africa 54. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton and the Democratic Party made history Tuesday when Clinton became the first woman nominated to run for president by a major U.S. political party. But as much as Democrats want to celebrate, there are challenges ahead in uniting the party as Clinton prepares to take on Republican Donald Trump in the general election. VOA national correspondent Jim Malone reports from Philadelphia.
Good afternoon, delegates. Are we ready to make some history?
Philadelphia is no stranger to history, and on Tuesday it added another chapter. The first woman nominated for president by a major U.S. political party.
All in favor of the motion, say aye. Opposed, no. The ayes have it.
Democrats officially nominated Clinton after the traditional roll call of the states, setting off a celebration inside the convention hall. The nominee later thanked the delegates via satellite from her home in New York.
This is really your victory. This is really your night.
Earlier, former President Bill Clinton brought the delegates to their feet with an impassioned appeal on behalf of his wife.
I hope you'll elect her. Those of us who have more yesterdays than tomorrow tend to care more about our children and grandchildren. The reason you should elect her is that in the greatest country on earth, we have always been about tomorrow. Your children and grandchildren will bless you forever if you do. God bless you. Thank you.
And in a bid for party unity, it was Clinton's former rival, Bernie Sanders, who urged his followers to join behind the former Secretary of State.
I move that all votes cast by delegates be reflected in the official record, and I move that Hillary Clinton be selected as the nominee of the Democratic Party for President of the United States.
But in a sign of lingering party tensions, scores of Sanders delegates and supporters staged a convention walkout into a nearby media tent where they held a silent protest. Michael Grom is a Sanders delegate from Ohio.
They're representing that they have no voice in this democracy. They felt that they can completely shut out. Our democracy has been taken over by corporations.
Despite the discord, Clinton delegate Janet Buskey of Alabama was thrilled with the nomination.
All the rights denied to blacks, all the rights denied to women, we're sort of coming full circle, and I see a complete America.
With much of this week's focus on Democrats, Republican Donald Trump still has been busy on the campaign trail. Trump went after Hillary Clinton's record on military veterans Tuesday during a speech in North Carolina.
We know how she takes care of the veterans. Just look at her invasion of Libya and her handling of Benghazi, a disaster.
On Wednesday, the Democratic delegates will hear from President Barack Obama, Vice President Joe Biden, and Clinton's vice presidential running mate, Virginia Senator Tim Kaine. Hillary Clinton will address the convention on Thursday. Jim Malone, VOA News, at the Democratic National Convention in Philadelphia.
Vincent Makori is our man at the scene at the DNC, and he joins us live from Philadelphia. Vincent, yesterday was definitely a historic day in the U.S. political process, and tonight, President Barack Obama heads the list of keynote speakers.
Oh, yes, Esther, history was made yesterday, and whether Hillary Clinton gets elected president or not, she has kind of punctured a major hole in that glass ceiling. And so it doesn't matter how it goes. Now, tonight, President Barack Obama, he's the key speaker here at the convention. What a significance. Look, President Barack Obama, he's the first black president of the United States. He will be here making a case for a possible first female president of the United States. Hugely significant. If she gets elected, what does that mean? History will have been made twice in a row. First a black president, followed by a female president. Be sure President Obama will tell the delegates here and all Americans that he knows intimately Hillary Clinton, working with her at the Senate, but also her working for him as Secretary of State. She's a great woman, and he will ask Americans to come out in droves to vote and not to take anything for granted to make sure that Hillary Clinton becomes president. And one other thing I just have to note, unlike the Republican National Convention, this week here, the Hillary gets a big boost in that two presidents addressed the DNC. Bill Clinton yesterday, and of course today, President Barack Obama.
You mentioned Bill Clinton's speech last night. Can you give us a little highlight on what exactly he achieved during that speech?
First, you really have to acknowledge that Bill Clinton still has it, all right? He still has it. He told the story of a woman that he met many, many years ago, but a woman that he has known throughout that time as a change maker. That was the storyline there. A change maker, a woman who has worked tirelessly for children, for the disadvantaged children, for the poor throughout her life, who has done that even when she had an option to join the corporate world and make tons of money. He told the story of a woman who loves people. He told the story of a woman who is totally different than what they were trying to portray at the Republican National Convention. He called her the real one. Bill Clinton impassionately went on to say, well, this is a woman who is a noble woman, but actually a really down-to-earth woman. You can be sure she'll work for Americans. She is what America needs right now. If you think of tomorrow, you think of your children, you think of your grandchildren. So he really humanized Hillary Clinton in ways that perhaps he hasn't spoken about her in public.
And briefly, Vincent, do you think the supporters of Bernie Sanders will heed his call to support Hillary?
Well, as you've seen with all those protests on the streets, the real diehard Bernie Sanders supporters don't care what pleas they're getting even from Sanders himself. They are on the streets, they are protesting. They literally broke into, or rather stormed the media tent yesterday. They are relentless. But officials here at the DNC say that 90%, perhaps 90% of Sanders supporters will vote for Hillary Clinton. So they're confident that these votes will be transferred to Hillary Clinton, and that the stakes are so high that they will not see Donald Trump become elected.
Vincent, we'll catch up with you tomorrow. Africa 54's Vincent Makori reporting live from the DNC convention in Philadelphia. And amid calls for unity within the Democratic Party, a number of diehard backers of Senator Bernie Sanders are upset, as Vincent said, and unsure about how to cast their votes in November. Africa 54's Vincent Makori spoke to Angie Ecker, a Vermont delegate and a Bernie Sanders supporter.
Well, Bernie Sanders is talking about things that a lot of us in the Democratic base of voters have been talking about for many years. And he's not new to this. He's been saying these things even before he was ever running for president for a long time. But, you know, as a mom, my son is about to go to college next year. And, you know, so free college for all, I think, is a right. I think health care for everybody is a universal human right that we should, you know, as a developed nation, should definitely be on par with that right now.
Now, obviously, Bernie Sanders is not at the top of the ticket. What do you feel about that?
I mean, in the wake of the WikiLeaks emails that came out this week showing the collusion against Bernie Sanders by the party that was supposed to remain neutral, I think there are a lot of questions around what types of things transpired to make Hillary Clinton, the quote-unquote presumptive nominee. I think there are a lot of questions about whether this was the actual outcome that should have happened. And so I don't think, as much of a long shot as it is, I don't think that Bernie's delegates are going to be ready to give up the fight so quickly.
But Bernie himself has actually said, well, kind of let's move on. We want to unite the party. His spokesperson said, we knew this happened. We knew there was a kind of some things happening that were working against Bernie Sanders. But now let's move on. Let's unite the party. Are you embracing their message, their call?
No. We feel that there's a lot of fear, a sense of obligation, a sense of guilt, that if we don't unify, that we're going to be the cause of Trump winning. If Trump wins, that is going to be the fault of the DNC for running a campaign for Hillary this entire time instead of letting the primary process play out fairly. There have been people from the beginning saying that, Bernie, if Bernie is the nominee, that he'll have a much better chance against Trump. And I think looking at the data that's out there, I think that's quite apparent. So I think if they want to take their number 2 player and put her up against Donald Trump, well, then the DNC has to bear the blame for that at the end of all this. So no, I don't think that this message of unity that the DNC is trying to present, this unified front, I don't think they're going to get that. I don't think that they can, especially in the wake of the WikiLeaks emails.
So you personally, how do you plan to cast your vote?
I plan to cast my vote according to my conscience. I think that there's a long-term and a short-term cost-benefit analysis to do between, who would be worse, Donald Trump or Hillary Clinton. I'm going to be, weighing that all out very carefully. Jill Stein is definitely an option on the table as well. So I'm going to be weighing everything out very carefully and voting based on my conscience.
Now, that means you are going against the call of Bernie Sanders. You're a supporter of Bernie Sanders. He's saying Hillary Clinton and Team Kaine are 100 times better than Donald Trump, even on the worst, circumstances. Why are you not with them?
Because I'm a Bernie Sanders supporter, but I'm not a soldier. I'm not going to follow where I'm told to go because it was an order. I'm not going to fall in line. I'm going to do what, based on my own intellect, my own calculations, I'm not going to vote out of fear. I will not vote out of fear.
The Joint Monitoring and Evaluation Commission, a body charged with the responsibility of monitoring the implementation of South Sudan's peace deal, issued a statement Wednesday on the recent political developments in South Sudan. The statement quotes Chairman Festus Mogae as saying, "Our only interest is to see a solution that promotes peace and a return to a normality as well as security in South Sudan." President Salva Kiir replaced first Vice President Riek Machar with Taban Dengai this week in a presidential decree. Machar told Al Jazeera Television Wednesday that his replacement is a violation of the peace agreement signed by President Kiir and Machar in August last year. The whereabouts of the former rebel leader is not known since fighting broke out in the capital 2 weeks ago. The United States has condemned in strongest terms a double bombing that took place at the main entrance of Mogadishu's airport during morning rush hour Tuesday, killing at least 13 people. Al-Shabaab, Somalia's al-Qaeda-linked terror organization, claimed responsibility for the attack on the group's Andalus radio station. 7 of the 13 people killed were United Nations guards. Residents in the area reported hearing 2 massive explosions just around 9 a.m. local time. According to reports from the residents, a suicide bomber tried to drive a car packed with explosives through a Somali security checkpoint and then detonated the explosives, causing casualties. Seconds later, another suicide bomber arrived and detonated his car close to security forces and nearby African Union forces. A security source told VOA that private security guards charged with protecting UN personnel outside the AU compound were also at the checkpoint at the time of the attack. We want to know what you think about Africa 54 and the stories we cover. Join the conversation on Facebook. The address is Africa 54, and check out our headlines 24/7 on voaafrica.com. Coming up, how a young Senegalese entrepreneur aims to revolutionize energy access on the continent. Stay with us.
This is Green Beat for a healthier planet.
The Angasi oyster off the southern coast of Western Australia was wiped out decades ago. But a new program aims to bring oyster reefs back to life by creating new structures, new reefs on the seabed. University of Western Australia professor Peter Cook says overfishing destroyed the oyster's original habitat.
They would actually dredge the bottom of the harbour to catch the oysters, but of course they would also bring up all of that reef structure with them.
So now, after starting life in large aquariums, juvenile oysters are being settled into their new home along the coast. The hope is that the oysters will attach to the new reefs, restoring their habitat and the waters around it.
So by restoring oyster reef into the harbour, what we will be doing is restoring that capability of the oysters to actually filter the water and therefore help to keep the water clean.
If the program is successful, it will be extended to other marine estuaries in Australia. I'm Rebecca Ward for VOA's Green Beat.
In part 2 of our series on how to stop terrorist financing, we take you behind the headlines to a congressional debate on stopping the flow of cash through the plunder and sale of antiquities. VOA's Caroline Turner has more.
Because the U.S. is the world's largest art market, it is often the final destination for art and priceless antiquities smuggled in on the black market.
So, George.
These antiquities from Iraq were smuggled into the U.S. and now repatriated back to Iraq. Experts believe international money laundering is supporting this criminal activity. Recently, the U.S. Congressional Task Force investigating terrorist financing and the plunder and sale of cultural treasures heard testimony from experts.
ISIS has been dubbed the world's richest terrorist army, and the illegal antiquities trade is one income stream which gives the group significant strategic advantage against existing counter-terror finance efforts. The trade's main target buyers are, ironically, history enthusiasts and art aficionados in the United States and Europe, representatives of the societies which ISIS has pledged to destroy.
Experts say authenticating and tracking the movement of artifacts is such a challenge, they are ideal for money laundering.
Antiquities freshly looted from the ground have no established value and no documented history. They can be mined from the ground as new commodities. Therefore, they are the perfect vehicle for moving funds and value around the world and for supporting illegal activities, such as trade-based money laundering, purchase of drugs and weapons, organized crime, and terrorism.
The Middle East is home to cultural remains beginning in the 2nd millennia BC. Syria is home to 6 World Heritage Sites, which represent thousands of years of civilizations. Mari, Syria, fell under ISIS control in the summer of 2014. Satellite images reveal some looting before ISIS, but many more after ISIS control, shown here in red. Experts explain ISIS did not invent plundering and looting for money, but simply took over the practice.
Moreover, it actually institutionalized the process and intensified it to a great degree. In fact, what we can say is that ISIS sees cultural heritage as a resource to be exploited like any other.
On display is an ISIS revenue looter's license, a huge source of revenue for ISIS.
The heavy machinery, you can see it here now being used to gouge chunks of earth out of the site. And if you don't think that this is producing good material, here are some of the finds that came out of this one site that was being looted. Not only pieces of pottery, but also these bronze and metal items or coming from a Bronze Age.
If the looter fails to sell the items, ISIS takes them back and sells them at a regular auction in Raqqa. These 2 statues from Palmyra were listed for $150,000 US and sold just before ISIS was forced out. Experts want to disrupt this black market.
Perhaps more importantly, to convince the middlemen and the dealers and the looters along the way that they will not eventually be able to sell these things in the United States.
How can we best address money laundering through the art trade, sir?
So let's suppose one of the large banks in the United States has offered a basket of art objects, whether cultural heritage objects, or art as we might normally think of it, for a loan transaction for $50 million. Right now, because of the lack of information sharing, that financial institution would have no way of knowing whether that same basket of assets was presented to 6 banks around the world in the last 30 days.
Experts advise Congress to shape the new legislation to empower financial and law enforcement agencies to stop funding terrorist organizations. Title insurers are in a good position to generate suspicious activity reports because they are charged with vetting assets for documented authenticity, ownership, and value. Carolyn Turner, VOA News, Washington.
Be sure to join us Thursday for part 3 of our series about the new law to protect and preserve international cultural property. VOA's Caroline Turner takes us behind the scenes as experts brief Congress on ways to stop cultural genocide. Today, we're kicking off a series of profiles on participants in President Barack Obama's Young African Leaders Initiative, or YALI. The State Department-sponsored program empowers young adults between the ages of 25 and 35 through academic coursework, leadership training, and networking. In the spotlight today is Abubakar Buba Dieme, a Senegalese entrepreneur who believes energy is key to the future of Africa. VOA's Ricky Shryoak caught up with him in Dakar, Senegal, before his trip to the U.S.
My name is Buba Dieme. I'm the co-founder and MD of YELEN. I'm a 2016 YALI Mandela Washington Fellow. I'll be based in the Energy Group, which will be in UC Davis, California. And then the second part of my fellowship is a professional development experience that will be with General Electric in Boston. YELEN is an energy service company. So the aim is to help clients save on the usage and help them control, and at the same time help them transition to renewable energy when it's possible. Okay. YELEN is currently based in Dakar. We have about 4 people full-time and then other 4 people on demand, so when on a project-to-project basis. We currently work from my house, my home here, that's my current home office, and then when there's a meeting with clients, we meet at the sites or we meet at the offices. And then the next level is to expand eventually to other countries. We recently had, we launched about 6 months ago, and we recently starting to close our first deals with businesses in Senegal. Why YELEN came about? So I studied electrical engineering, then worked as a telecom engineer. And when I came back to Senegal about 2 years ago, I noticed obviously that energy is a cornerstone we could develop without energy. Also noticed a lot of challenges that businesses face, that people face, including pricing, instability. The potential for renewable energy in our region is big, it's very big. Well, we have a lot of sun radiation, a lot of wind, but then we have to deal with the ecosystem. Like I say, I like to tell people, the regulatory environment has to be good, and I believe the experience we use with the YALI for me will be tremendous in the sense that I'll be able to see working systems in the U.S., how a lot of the challenges that have been solved from a scientific, a policy, business perspective, and things that have been done. These are lessons learned that we can take as knowledge, technology, and then do better even here when we come back. I'm very excited for the YALI experience. I'm ready to go and learn a lot. I'm ready to go and connect with people and then grow. So I think as an initiative, it's one of the best initiatives I've encountered because it develops people, it develops young people, and gives us hope. I think inspiring others is what this initiative is about and what we should be about.
It's time now for a short break. Still to come on Africa 54, the list of the top nominees at the MTV Video Music Awards. We'll be right back.
All our honest and hardworking athletes
consolidate and consolidate a democratic
Viva Salva Kiir Mayardit, viva! Viva!
I'm Milar Sega. I'm the host of VOA's The Correspondents, a roundup of the world's top stories with analysis from our dedicated reporters. It's really a conversation the same way that you would bring a friend to your home and ask them what's going on. And our correspondents will do that and answer those questions through their own eyes.
That appears a false choice in more ways than one.
We can't actually put you there, but we can come pretty close. In 30 minutes, we'll show you the world.
Welcome back to Africa 54. Here's what's trending. The provider of the Pokemon Go augmented reality game was asked by local authorities in Japan to remove Hiroshima Peace Memorial Park as a location for one of the game's gyms where virtual characters do battle. The game's developers was asked to take action before August 6th, the 71st anniversary of the 1945 atomic bombings, which killed more than 100,000 people. The city made the request after Pokemon Go players started capturing virtual characters at the park. Next up, Beyoncé and Adele are the top nominees at the MTV Video Music Awards, where their music videos will compete against Kanye West's controversial Famous for Video of the Year. Famous Beyoncé's Formation and Adele's Hello will battle Justin Bieber's Sorry and Drake's Hotline Bling for the top prize when the VMAs air live August 28th from New York's Madison Square Garden. Beyoncé is the overall VMA leader with 11 nominations, marking a career best for the pop diva. And finally, Verizon Communication has agreed to buy Yahoo's core internet business for $4.83 billion in cash, ending a lengthy sale process for the fading web pioneer. Buying Yahoo's operations will boost Verizon's AOL internet business, which it bought last year for $4.4 billion by giving it access to Yahoo's advertising technology tools, as well as other assets such as search, mail, and messenger. And that's what's trending today. And that's our show for today. Be sure to watch Africa 54 on our website at voaafrica.com. For more news, tune into VOA's evening radio show Africa News Tonight at 1800 UTC and in the mornings to Daybreak Africa between 0300 and 0600 UTC Monday through Friday. Thanks for watching and good night from Washington.
Welcome to the Voice of America's Newswords. This word has to do with international relations.
Sovereign. Listen to the U.S. General and NATO Commander Philip Breedlove.
We've seen a nation cross an internationally recognized sovereign border and annex by force a portion of a sovereign nation. That changes the way we do business.
Sovereign means the right of a country to govern itself. A sovereign nation is independent from other countries.
General Breedlove complains that Russia took over part of Ukraine. Now, when you hear the word sovereign, your American English will be good enough to know what this newsword means.